Hello, YouTube. Welcome to the Stratosphere Lounge. It's a Friday night edition. I hope everybody's doing well. It's good to see everybody. When I say see everybody, I mean look in the general direction of everybody now. My God, we're on the air. Um, yeah, hope everybody's doing well. And Roadrunner says, yes, great job on the website. Very fast now after a year, maybe more than a year. Maybe it was a year and a half. Uh, and thousands of dollars and three separate overseas experts with 5 stars, um, all of them. A little quiet. Okay, hang on. Let me see. Bring it a little closer. Turn it up a little bit. Give it a little more volume. Do it this way. How's that? Is that better? I think that's probably about where we're going to be. After all of this, how did you end up fixing the website? Well, I had spent the last 5 weeks with the latest person I'd hired, who was in Pakistan, who had 152 5-star reviews for WordPress repairs and optimization. Um, and uh, he got some preliminary work done and paid him, and we could not crack this problem. Worked on it for 5 weeks, 6 weeks, something like that. Uh, and and I felt my soul just draining out of my shoes. I mean, I just felt my entire spirit leaving my body. I was just done. This would have been probably 4 nights ago, 5 nights ago, something like that. And then just on a whim, I typed in WordPress, and I found a sponsored site called Fixed, FIXED.org, I think. And it said, we will fix any website, any WordPress website problem for $75. I said, well, been throwing so much good money after bad. I don't know. Then I thought, well, this other guy I've been working with for 5 weeks and he hasn't gotten anywhere. So I decided to go ahead and punch the button. And 20 minutes later, I had a report in my inbox basically saying, yeah, the problem is being caused by this plugin. I think if we do this, and this, they had to work on it because it was pretty tightly, deeply buried problem with Ultimate Member plugin, and still working to resolve that. It might get even faster, but in any event, um, what what ended up happening was it took them about 24 hours and $75. Um, and they're based in London. So I wrote them a 5-star review and got a monthly maintenance and unlimited troubleshooting plan. So it's pretty amazing. When I realized it was actually working and consistently working, logged in pretty fast. Not quite as fast as not logged in, but that doesn't bother me. It's about a second or two. It was a WordPress issue, a plugin issue, I think. But these guys, from the first instant they contacted me, they just immediately sent, like, we just took a look at your site, ding, 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 ding. Not like, hey, well, and I didn't have to give them suggestions. They apparently knew what they were doing. So that appears to be fixed. The next thing we have to do, we're working on now, is the sign-up process. That involves our online bank, Recurly, which sends it to Stripe. Stripe sends it to us. But given the expertise that these guys have shown, it's a whole team of guys too, and the speed at which they work, I think we'll have this resolved pretty quickly. I sent an email to Ultimate Member, which is the plugin, because we got to get that updated, and I can't update it, so and they can't update it. So hopefully I'll hear from them shortly, because they're on England time, and they're starting to wake up right around now. Although it's Saturday over there, isn't it? So in any event, next couple days. So yeah, I would say expect the membership drive to start next week. Been giving that a great deal of thought. Yeah, those guys are honorary Strata Loungers, says Dave Big Boutte. They are that and more. Yeah, let me see. Why am I having? Why can't I log in over here? That's weird. Okay, well. Roadrunner with a $75 super chat for the BillWhittle.com website maintenance fund. now it's time to start the membership drive. Hooray! Thank you very much, Roadrunner. It's very kind of you. And that last run last time was amazing. So let me just check it again and see if it's if I'm telling lies. Even the forum loaded relatively quickly. Let's go to home. Bam. Logged in? Yes. Let's go find ourselves an obscure right angle from many moons ago. Fight fiercely, Harvard. Bam! It's by God working by God. So, that by the way, that right angle we did called "How Bad Was It Really?" with that AI thumbnail. That sucker went large. In the weeks leading up to the election, we were getting 20,000, 25,000 views. I think we did one right angle, got to 27, 28. That's some gun. Has done 64,000 views. So I'll tell you what's interesting about, not only interesting, but really enlightening about that. I just put up one on Hamas earlier. They're both doing okay. That was a great thumbnail. It was right on time. How Bad Was It Really was a great title, and somebody must have picked it up and linked to it. But honestly, what it shows me is that, this, and I've talked about this before, is that this, 8,000, 10,000, 12,000 views, 9,000 views, which I thought was just the algorithm, was not the algorithm. Because if it was the algorithm, this thing wouldn't hit, that much pay dirt. So there's a lot of lessons to be learned from that. Drone Pulse over there on YouTube says, so what was the issue with the website? I missed it. I put the little our old site was very slow, 10-second load for pages, just ridiculously slow. So I just chopped it off, started a brand new WordPress website, put it on A2 servers, which are the fastest servers, at least had a reputation to be the fastest. And then we had a dedicated server, and it looked like it was working really fast, and then it wasn't. And then we got it optimized so it was working very, very quickly, unless you logged in. And if you logged in, it went from 1-second page loads to 10-second page loads, which is just unacceptable. You just can't. Nobody's going to use a website like that. So in any event, we got it finally fixed, and it was deeply buried. Because, like I said, I've been working on this problem for nearly a year. So that is an enormously gratifying thing to me. I have spent, for some reason, you know what? Am I logged into the right channel on YouTube? Yes. So we're streaming to the right place on YouTube. I'm just looking at the streaming service to YouTube, and I'm not able to. I don't think I'm able to. Let me see if I can do it over here. Hang on. Hang on a moment. So I would like to be able to see it and log in. And I hate this dead air. View your channel. All right. Live, yes. There I am live, yes. Can I chat? Yes. I'm checking. Yes, there it is. Hooray. Okay. So got the YouTube chat back in. So I'll tell you what I have been working on. In addition to everything else, I have been working on really upping my AI imagery game. I'm going to save that for Monday night, but I have been using the top of the line tools now. I've been using something called Midjourney, which is just absolutely breathtaking. Midjourney is just it's just shockingly good. I did not reach out to Scott Adams, Marusha. I haven't had a chance to do much of anything. I know Scott's got doesn't have unlimited time, but I've just been working like crazy. So yeah, we'll see some hot mic. We'll see all kinds of things happening. But I really been living on that thing, trying to get that thing done. Um, thank you, Drone Pulse, and thank you for everybody and all the rest of that stuff, that groovy stuff. Uh, and but I have been really blown away by some of this stuff. So I'll do like animations and stuff and have some of those ready by Monday. But just to give you an idea, let me just drop a couple in here. Hang on. And I'm going to feature all of this in the membership drive, as I tell you. So just a couple of images that I just put together here. Hang on a second, I'll move it on over to YouTube. This is Midjourney. Come on. There we go. I was playing around with trying to find something that worked for the colonies. There's a scene in the colonies where they encounter this alien that's just 400 or 500, 300 feet tall in a cavern, and I found a couple that kind of suggest what I'm looking for. Now, I want to stress that I'm just getting started with Midjourney. I can upload pictures to Midjourney that will help give it a vibe, but here you go. I'll put a couple of these up. So this would be the exploration story arc on the colonies, but you can see that some of this stuff is pretty groovy. I'll find one or two more, which it's nice. It gives me a sense. It gives me a chance to do. This is the one that's probably closest to what I had in mind. It's not what I want yet, but I can upload pictures, and the pictures can be used. And so basically, we're not at the point where we can do the whole show in AI video yet, because there's just not enough control over, and there's not enough consistency. But what I can do is I can do stills and storyboards to give up suggestions. And then I can also, give me a second to download this, just an instant here, let me find it. I can also animate these things, and the problem with the AI again is that it's got a mind of its own, and so it will, sometimes you'll tell it just to do this and it just won't. And you'll tell it, stop moving the camera, and you'll iterate it 50 times and it just won't. It just won't do it. But sometimes you can get lucky. So let me download just one animation. I'll do all the animations for you later. Where did it go? Here we go. So let me grab an animation for you. I got a great animation of Chernobyl here. All right, hang on. There's also something I got that's really fun as well. Was it this or was it on? No, it was over here. Sorry. This one. This one. This one. This one. Come on. Yeah, not quite. Almost there. Sorry, I hate this. It's dead air. All right, I don't know where it is. I'm going to let it go. I'll show you one more picture, though. There's a thumbnail for my right angle this week. All the thumbnails this week were done in Midjourney, and they're really getting a lot better. I think they're going to really help the views. But mine was on a company called Venus Aerospace, which has produced a an engine that'll go from the ground and all the way up to Mach 5. Usually, the solution has been you need one engine for slow flight and another one for hypersonic flight, uh, and 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 so these guys managed to get one of them. So this is the thumbnail I picked for that. Uh, Hang on. Just give me 1 second. I'm sorry about this. Been busy all day today, so I was normally hoping to get a chance to load these. Hang on a second. Almost there. Right angle, yes. Yes. Okay. So here's the thumbnail for the hypersonic jet, which I love. I don't remember if it was last episode or not. On Monday's episode or the week before that, I think we closed the episode by talking about Ratfink. It's called Venus Aerospace, and I just adore this. I just it made me it made I did 50 iterations of this guy, and I was laughing so hard that I just sat here for 2-3 hours, iterated this image like 50 times until I found it better, but found what I wanted and really got the spirit of what I wanted, and it just made me laugh. So just so you can see one animation of these, give me 1 second and I will find it. Because I know I did download it. 1 second here. Come on. Here it is. Make sure that's the right one. Yep. Here we go. Check this out. So I've decided that I'm going to that I might go ahead and do some commentary as this character. Here comes the animation twitch, and I've decided to call it Boomer Bill. Hang on, let me turn all these off. I'll do them again. I got to start them again here. Come on, there he is. I love it. Hang on, YouTube, he's coming. I'm not a fan, as you all know. I've been just so completely cronked out on hyperrealism, but this just made me laugh, and I just love it. I absolutely adore it. I'll show it to you one more time, then we'll call it a night on this. It's just funny, and I think it might be a fun way to just kind of kick some ideas out there. You should learn how to change your own tire. He'll show you how. Because he's just, I just remember laughing so hard at Ratfink when I saw it. I have tried Sora, and oh, you would buy that shirt? That's actually a great idea. Let's go. Brandon said I would buy that shirt. It's actually a great idea for a shirt. But the thing about Boomer Bill is you just might as well just own it, and I would find I'd find an AI voice that was like one of those old prospector kind of. Well, we used to Thanksgiving we had turkey stuffed with gunpowder, that kind of thing. So let me just turn these off on YouTube. But you can see it's really pretty powerful. Yeah. Timeline Junkie Film says without AI, without good writing and interesting characters is just another fancy tool. Amen to that. It's all about the writing. Now, all we need here at BillWhittle.com is a writer, and we will be golden. Let me get these things back up. Sonic Boomer Bill is also good. Now, Marusha says, not sure if you can legally sell it because you can't be sure of the source material. I can be sure of the source material. I did that prompt entirely on my own, and I did 60 iterations of it, and so am I here. Uh, and and I absolutely own that image. So yeah, I think that's just great. Brad Nestor says, "Is that the pilot's hair being blown back in the animation? That it looks like a scarf, but what I told it to do. This is why, again, the AI is getting amazing. The image quality is amazing, but it's still very, very hard to get it to do exactly what you want to. That's supposed to be his tongue, um, and it just turned it into a scarf. So, it's kind of their Stratabill, all of that stuff. Um, Consider all your AIs to be your junior producers and artists, not your replacement. No, I believe me, it is uh, remarkable. Caslin says, have you seen the examples of video from Vo 3 by Google this week? I haven't. Caslin, you want to find a good one and put the link in there, and I'll take a look at it. I've heard that Google's got a new one out. So I've actually experimented with 5 or 6 different AI programs, and so far I've found ones that I like a lot, that do good animation. Nothing so far comes even close to Midjourney in terms of still pictures, but the animation thing is still there. Steve Eisland says, we believe in you, Bill. You're one of the only people on this rock I can believe in. LOL. Thank you very much. It's very kind of you. I made the prompt, but not the training data is what I mean. There are people who create poisoned art using Nightshade, for example. Well, I'm going with it, and I'm looking forward to being sued by somebody who's charging me money to create images, that I could do that, So there's that. Thank you. Let me put that up there too, because this deserves a little better. 1 second, folks. Beg pardon. Yeah, just let me post one link. And then we can get into questions, and we don't have to be doing all this dead air stuff. But Natasha's latest video is the first one we did that we didn't use existing Adobe footage. Why am I not getting my channel come up? That's weird. Hang on. So, there it is. So what I'm going to throw a link to, and if you get a chance to take a look at it, that'd be great, is an image that Natasha came up with. It's a one prompt in Midjourney, and it is a animated not in Runway, something else. Hang on, let me just post it. If you get a chance to look at it, we'd love to have you do it. So here's the link for you, Twitch. Yes, it looks like Natasha's starring in her own video. Exactly. So have a look at this, guys, if you can, and let it run just long enough for the counter to go, because it would mean a lot to her if you can. Hang on, YouTube's coming up. Got kinds of things everywhere. Here we go. Hi, cold breath. Pin that sucker. Great. Yeah, if you could take a look at it, that would be great. Really appreciate it, because she put it up there, put a lot of work into it, and yeah, it does remind me of Doctor Strange too, and it hasn't been seen by a whole ton of people, so anybody we could send to get a chance to do that is great. Yeah, it's just it is like having her in the picture, really is. I actually did the prompt for that, and she did the music, and then we just animated it, and I think it just really looks terrific. So Yeah, let me have a look at that. Yeah, that's just stunning. It's stunning. Um, all right. Well, great. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. If you get a chance to go and have a look at that, that would be great, and we really appreciate it. Roadrunner says watched it for about 2 hours yesterday. You're the awesome. You're really doing yeoman work there, Roadrunner. We're very grateful. Thank you very much. Um, okay. Let's see. We could go to the questions, and they'll load quickly. We could try that. That you, yes. So I don't need you, and I don't need you. That's that. That's everything. Hey, everybody. All right, let's go to questions. Why don't we? Because I missed some last time, and I hate it when I do that. And I am running out of desktop here. That's all right. Let's go to our BillWhittle.com website here. What? Bam! Surely I must be logged out. No, I'm logged in. How is this possible? It's a happy. Oh, that's a happy feeling. It is a happy feeling. Questions for Thursday, 5/22. Yes. Let's have a look at that real quick, Castellan. Oh boy. They're all fake, aren't they? Yeah. Yeah, it's getting pretty close. Bunch of people at a car show. Looks just like a bunch of people at a car show, but none of them are real, right? Video and sound both created with text prompt using VO3. I'm going to have to get onto VO. One guy writes, I'm a cameraman. Part of my job is doing interviews on exhibits like this one. Oh, well. You know what the AI is going to do is, and I mean, this is because a lot of people in there are just really panicking in the comment section for this thing that was just released because it's so good and it gets better every day and everybody's in competition with everybody else, which is also really good because at least for the technology, because it's really driving the technology. But what AI will probably do is knock out the bottom 80% of the jobs. You know, there's always going to be. I don't think, based on what I've seen so far, that AI is capable of doing the top 20%. I think it's gonna knock out the bottom 80%. For example, I would never use like something like ChatGPT to write a movie script, but I would use ChatGPT to describe a movie, or to write a press release for the movie, that kind of thing. So, you know, we'll see. Let me get something. Just bounce it past you guys here before we start with the questions. Excuse me, Captain. Sorry about that mic noise. Thank you for the super chat, Robert Crusoe, for $5. Really appreciate it. Thank you. Sorry, I made some notes. I was talking with Father McTeague about the upcoming membership drive and basically, you know, how to sell myself, because I'm not really comfortable doing that. Just, well, we've all heard that story before. I'm not going to go through it again. Yeah, I saw Mark Dice's video, but it's going to be. I'm going to. in the membership drive, I'm going to use a lot of AI video. I'm going to show some of the CGI animation, although the AI makes this stuff look really dated. So I'm trying to figure out what the sales pitch is, and here's kind of what I am inclined to go with. The meta message is, we are in this last election, Donald Trump's biggest numbers came from the youngest voting bloc. That's shocking and wonderful. It's got to scare the daylights out of the Democrats. But young people voted Republican as a percentage more than boomers did. And so the problem is that those people are leaving progressive politics, but they've got nothing to go to. Eric Blake talks about this a lot. They've got nothing to go to. They've only got something to go from. And nobody is selling the message to young people in a way that young people will see it. So my membership drive pitch is going to be, I'm the only guy out there using these tools who can reach this super low-hanging fruit that is wandering around there lost, waiting to hear a good reason why to vote for Trump, other than just they like Trump better than what the Democrats have been basically giving them. So I plan to use in this sales pitch commercial a lot of AI and AI animations and so on. What has it? Oh, make sure I get this right. Yeah, hot women, fast cars, loud guns, and crispy bacon. Exactly. So I was talking with this with my friend Father McTeague, who I've done 7 of his radio shows, and he's been a fan of mine for quite a long time. And I asked him, what would you say if you were trying to market me? And these are just some things that he said that I just wrote down. Yeah, that's the one. Robert Cruz says, "Great haircut." That's the sales pitch. That's it. That's what you're buying. You're buying the hair. You're buying anime hair at a boomer price. So I'm just writing what somebody else said. Again, I'm very self-conscious about this kind of thing, but let me know if any of these things resonate with you. I think the sales pitch is, we are the only people out there in the game who have the cutting edge culture chops to go after these young conservative voters who don't even know they're conservative. They've never heard the conservative message. They just know they don't like progressives. So here's some of the things he wrote. He said, Bill's an honest man and he wants to do the right thing, believes that we don't have to can't read my own writing. He says, we all need to get together for our values and to get it right while there's still time. He says, we used to know the power of story. And we're not, one of the things he said that's he thinks strong about me is that I'm not selling anything. He says, I've never ever gotten the sense that Bill Whittle is a shill for anybody or anything, that that basically I don't work for a big corporation. I don't have a party line I have to toe. I basically just take out the world the way I see it, and there you go. Again, he said, honest man. I don't have talking points. Just honest, courage, and integrity. No corporate masters. He said one of the lines I liked a lot is, we don't have to settle for the dying of the light. Andrew DeLay says, Bill Whittle is the anti-boomer. I'm proud of being a boomer, but I may be the only boomer who really gets it. And he also basically says that young people are frightened, lost, and desperate. They can do something better than just simply, medicating themselves and living a life of pain management. They just need to believe in something bigger than that. And so I think all of this stuff's starting to coalesce into a pitch. So basically it would be like, this guy is out there. He gets the pop. I know what Skibbity Toilet is. And I know what Drip is, and I know what Riz is, And and one of the people, and one of the things that I did said, Bill's the only boomer that gets it. So I think I need to go to people. I think the strategy is to go to people that are more or less my age, around my age, because that's the age of our members generally, and say, listen, this is the platform of the future. These are the tools of the future. It's not like he's going to get into using these things someday. He's been using them all the time. Give him the resources. Sorry to talk about myself in the third person. Give him the resources to do this full time instead of having to spend so much time editing and doing the stuff we're already doing. Let's go out there and grab these people that are just looking for an explanation of why of why they should be voting for us. They already are voting for us. They just need it. Marusha says, if it helps, that video that first won me over was your Bachman 2012 speech. You need to channel that same energy and pacing. Yeah. I think that's an interesting point about that same energy and pacing. I think I probably need to get an AI voice to do this. I don't think this is something I can say about myself, although I can be talked out of that, although I really don't want to be talked out of it. But in any event, it's going to start happening pretty quick because we are right at the end of our rope here. So when I say pretty quick, I mean within the next couple of days. We got to get this spigot open and get some new money into this situation. I asked Steve and Scott for next week's right angles, which we'll shoot on Tuesday, if we could each do a right angle on why somebody should be a member. We get anywhere from 10,000 to sometimes we'll hit, like I said, 30, 40,000 people to watch the show, and I think that's our lowest hanging fruit. Hang on, just backing up some discussion about. I think there's some discussion about whether or not young people are voting more Republican than others, but I've heard that it was definitely pretty much true. Right now we've got about. Speaker Steve wants to know about how many we have. Hang on. We have a tick over 2,000. And we need that number. If we could get that number to 5,000, we'd be a frickin' factory. We'd be a factory. Paul and Stephen have a conversation about me. He says he's very late in life married person, so his opinion is super biased and not what young men think these days. Well, I don't know, Paul. I've been looking at the MGTOW movement for a long time, dude, and I've been looking at. I'm a 9-year-old passport bro, and I have heard that anecdotally, that guys like Matt Walsh and Mike over there are kind of against that MGTOW thing, but I'm kind of 100% behind the men going their own way thing. It makes perfect sense to me. It's a terrible deal, and the people that they're getting are absolutely toxic. And when you have women who are in their 20s who've got a body count of 150, and they got their OnlyFans, and they're making $60,000 a frickin' month, it's hard to turn that kind of money down. But they seem to think, these young women seem to think, that they can get run through by all these guys and have the train every weekend, and that when they turn 28 or 30, all of a sudden some good man's going to come along and be just fine with that. It doesn't work that way, and the more partners that women have, the less likely they are to be loyal. So I completely get it. If I was in the dating market these days as a young man, especially with the way that with the way the dating apps work, where 98% of the men on dating apps can't get an answer, and the 2% of the Chads and Tyrones are getting, all of the chicks, and the women are fed up with it. The men are fed up with it. The women are slowly, as they hit the wall one by one, smashing into the idea that this whole thing is, this whole feminism thing is starting to really hit them, that the whole thing is a bloody lie. And since you brought up the subject of the dating scene, um, I'll get to that question in a second here, Paul. But since you're talking about the dating scene, right now, if I could do anything in the world right now, if I had one mission, it would be to speak to young men and remind them that we're not only not inferior to women, we are faster, stronger, smarter, also stupider. It's interesting how that works out. We're smarter than women and also stupider than women. We have a wider bell curve. Nature can afford to experiment with males in a way that it can't with females. I think the guys at Jackass are legends, and I wish I had the guts to be one of them, because they understand that glory is forever, but pain is transitory. I know Jackass has not been on the air for a long time, but watching them do that is just awesome. But look, man, I look at the dating situation out there now, and all I see are these really, really, really toxic women who are saying, "I'd rather go for a walk in the woods with a bear than a man," and I want to do just an animation of a bear and a man, just a photorealistic AI animation of a bear and a man walking through the woods, just looking down, like a couple of buddies, just looking down and just mumbling, and the caption would be, man and bear walk through woods commiserating with each other on how toxic women are, because they are really just so bloody delusional. If you look at what's going on with young people today, honestly, when I look at body cam videos or any of these, I know what ratchet means. I know what all this stuff means, and when you look at people fighting, you see people fighting in places and over things they never fought about before. But the thing that's really startling is 9 out of 10 fights that I see online now, fist fights, are women. 9 out of 10. There's something really, 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 really wrong. Really, really, really wrong. So, I got real lucky in terms of getting married late, but I got married late because, look, I've been single. I was single for 57 years, man. I think I got the situation down. But when you hear guys like Matt Walsh saying, that this is, the MGTOW thing is, you should just settle down and get married. It's like, I just want to say, the women that you are married to, the kind of women you're married to are rare as hen's teeth out there, man. They just don't really exist anymore. There are very, very few of them. We do, most people don't, it depends on whether you watch the show on Twitch or on YouTube. On YouTube, I'm not able to run a pre-roll, but on Twitch I can, because they don't monitor it and they don't block or it wasn't even a question of not monetizing it. They would just basically turn off they just cut the stream. But we do something, we ran it just earlier tonight. We do something called Animato, which is a demo reel from the first guy to really understand multiplane, the power of multiplane cell image photography, and he's a cutting edge guy. I mean, his name is Mike Jitlov, and he invented the world. What I'm trying to say is this: he's got this thing called Animato, and it's done from 1970s catalogs, like the Sears catalog, called Fascination. Yeah. And when I look at those girls from the 1970s, the one thing that strikes me the most is how wholesome they are. There's not a tattoo on one of them. There's not a piercing on one of them. They all look like they're virgins. They all look like they all look like the kind of person you could trust with your life, because that's kind of what marriage is, man. You know, it's it's just you're trusting somebody with your life, and these are not trustworthy people out there. So big toe bears going their own way. But the power of I need to do that for the membership thing. I need to get that, because that's a real simple thing to do. Just a regular guy and a bear just walking through the woods, kind of looking at their feet, just shaking their heads every now and then, and it's like man and bear, walking through the woods, wondering why women are being such dicks. Because that's the title. Yeah, he's got a bear choosing a man. The bear choosing a man after a week with the woman. They were so mean, says the bear, or says the man. Yeah. Yep. So yes. And I might do an animation of a bunch of fish sitting there without, watching other fish ride by on bicycles. Just a bunch of really green-haired, pierced, nasty, ugly fish watching these beautiful fish going by on bicycles and looking at them with this kind of, disgusted, jealous, envious look. So these are the tools we have now. If you can imagine it, you can make it happen. I actually, I've been waiting to do this. I want to do one of Hillary Clinton. This is a little old, but anyway, I remember Aquanet. I want to do one of Hillary Clinton as a maid, like a washerwoman, and I want to have her like the headscarf on and just real plain clothes, and she's down on her knees and she's got a bucket of water, and she's got a hard drive in her hand, and she's wiping it down with a cloth. She's just wiping it down with a cloth. So that's a it's probably 2 hours work to get that. All of it. Thank you very much. Damian Marilyn Mandel La Mancha Gershwin says, I'm a man of few words, but if you don't mind me saying, hair, Bill, your hair looks awesome. Thank you. It's 100% synthetic, and I glue it on every night. Marusha says, TradCons have a blind spot for people that came from bad relationships and bad families. Yes, this is exactly my point. They can't understand why anyone would oppose those things, because theirs have always been good by comparison. This is the problem with conservatives, with conservative commentators. They're conservative because they had great families and great homes. Mine was not so much. I've been to Narcotics Anonymous meetings for 18 months and suffering from clinical depression for pretty much all my life. And I've been around addicts, and I've been around a bunch of people with serious problems who are not able to say no because it's bigger than them. And some conservatives don't get that. One of the questions earlier was, does it matter as much if men have high body counts? Men are more likely to leave a relationship if they have a high body count, but men don't. What is that? What is that hormone? Oh, it sounds like OxyContin, but that's not it. Sexual intercourse creates this hormone in women that bonds them to men, that bonds them to their partner. Oxytocin. Thank you. And so when a virgin woman has sex with a man, she bonds to that man, and if it turns out you're going to have a body count of 100 by the time you're 22, then you have to experience that oxytocin high the first time, have your heart broken by this guy, which is going to make you angry. Then you'll do it again, and you'll have less of a reaction, but still a real possessive reaction. You want to be with this guy forever. Then he'll break your heart, and you'll get more angry, and you'll do the third guy. And every time you do it, that bonding hormone gets smaller and smaller and smaller, until finally it just doesn't exist at all. So there you go. Marcia Dark says, Zoe, my friend Alfonso Rachel, once made the observation that a key that can open any lock is valuable. A lock that opens to any key is worthless. Yeah, pretty much. Steve says that might be too inconvenient of a truth for YouTube. Well, then it's too inconvenient of a truth for YouTube. Um, there's somebody's got to say this stuff. So yeah, men can basically whore around and not have it biologically maladapt them. Now, the more of a there's also a non-biological component to this, and that is the more sexual partners you have, the more you have things to compare to, and the more likely you are to be unsatisfied with your with the sexual life you have with your partner or your spouse. I wish I'd met my wife when I was 17 in college. Of course, let me rephrase that. I wish I was a little older than that because I wish I'd met my wife when I was 30, and she was 23. Disregard what I said about 17. I wasn't thinking straight. I wasn't doing the math. Yeah, and Steve Eisen points out, so what's happening now is you've got Chad and Tyrone who have rosters. You have women who have rosters and backup rosters. So these women are getting pumped and dumped by these Chads and Tyrones, and they're leaving their husbands after 25 years of marriage because they're bored and they're not satisfied, and they have the other divorced women are selling them this vision that, oh no, go out there in the dating market, you're beautiful, you're stunning, you can land any guy you want to. So they divorce their husbands, and then they go out on this date with some Chad, and he's charming, and buys her flowers and takes her out in a sports car and takes her to a $200 dinner, and a $200 dinner, and then she's head over heel in love, and then he calls her on Tuesday night at 2:30 in the morning, asks her what she's doing, and wants to know if she can come over, and the next thing you know, he doesn't answer her calls anymore, and he's ghosted her. And then she's out there, and she thinks, well, it's probably just a one-off. And after a year or two of this, these women realize that they're alone now. Now they're alone. They have to face the world by themselves, and the real irony is that 80% of the divorces are initiated by women now, and they break men's hearts. They just break their hearts. The men are out there working their tails off and trying their best to feed their family and provide for their family, and they wake up one day and their wife says, I want a divorce. So these men are just absolutely emotionally shattered. But once a man is emotionally shattered, once it dawns on him that it's over, he's going to get on Match.com the next day. When men realize that something is finished, they move on. And the number of videos I've seen of women who divorced their husbands so that they could, party out there, and then the next thing you know, they're crying for months because their husband has found somebody else and he's happy now. So anyway, that's basically it. I get all this stuff. I could be a good mentor to young men, because I've dated some movie stars, man. Yeah, imagine if Bill had plenty of fish in MySpace, or it's I don't know if it's in his early 20s. I'm 6'1". Yes, 6'1". And yeah. Lady Hawk says men also divorce their wives for a similar reason. It's absolutely true. I don't want to make it sound like it's all women's fault. There are men that are absent, that are cheaters. There are men that are abusive. But those aren't really men. Look, man, it's a tough thing. It's a tough thing to make work. And I saw something that I really liked a lot. I said, marriage is difficult. Divorce is difficult. Choose your difficult. But damn, that's pretty impressive. Now, Bill is 6'1". I'm concerned that if I actually measured my height, I might be to 6 foot now, because as you get older, gravity tends to crush the life out of you. So if it turned out that I'm 6'1", I get weighed and measured every now and then, so I wouldn't put too much hope on that. Mercy says, Bill, I would sell the next gen on hope for the future, since many are without hope, depressed and suicidal. I need something to vote for, not just against. Yes, hope for the future. The future's awesome, man. The future's awesome. It really is. And all we want is to be left alone so we can go do awesome things, like fly in the Jetson. you and do that. Eric Blake says young voters are voting for us for now, but they need to love voting for us. Yes, they need to know why. They can't just be walking away from something. It's got to give them something to walk to. So what I'm going to do, this is the kind of thing that ChatGPT is actually good at. I'm going to give ChatGPT all of these notes and say, write me a sales pitch. And I think that will probably be pretty impressive. So we'll see. Steve says, I'm 5'7", i.e. ineligible for female contact nor consideration. Dude, I feel your pain. When these women say, oh, you got to be 6 foot, and then you tell them, okay, that's fine. And as far as the women are concerned, they got to be less than 120 pounds. Then they have a frickin' aneurysm. Aneurysm. Don't you worry about it, dude. Don't you worry about it. There are so many people out there who are really desperate, and there's a lot of women out there who are looking for good men. I think a guy who's 5'7" and confident and owns a room has got a much better chance than a guy who's 6'3" and stands out in the corner. I genuinely mean it, because there's no question that women like taller men. That's true. And there's no sugarcoating that. But what they really want is confidence. And a guy who's 5'7" and confident, who walks into a room and owns that room, and basically says, look, I'm going to just take what I want and I'm not going to ask permission. Boom. Busted Half Nickel Swamp says, Bill, imagine being in your late teens and early 20s dating today in 2025 with social media and GPS. There's no lying where you are, because your spouse will say go live or turn on your GPS. And if your spouse says something like that, here's my advice for young men. If somebody says to you, I want you to keep your GPS on so I can see where you are, or I want you to wear a tracker or something, your response to this love of your life is, I'm not doing that under any circumstances. You either trust me or you don't. If you don't, that's fine. But I'll tell you right now, if I want to cheat on you, I'm smart enough to figure out how to do it with a car tracker. It's not about knowing. It's not about checking. It's about trust. You either trust them or not. Natasha has gone to Hawaii on retreats with women for meditation studies and stuff, and people could say, well, what a giant cuck you are. It's like, I'm not. I trust her. I 100% trust her. And if it turns out that I was wrong, well, then I'll eat those consequences, but I'm not wrong. I don't worry about it. I'm not worried about competition. I don't have competition. I don't. I'm not for everybody, but for the people I am for, I'm the best version of that guy that there is. So you can't worry about those things. And a real man wouldn't put up with it. Just wouldn't put up with it. Let me see your phone. Honey, I'd be happy to show you my phone. I got nothing to hide on my phone, but I'm not showing you my phone, because me showing you my phone means you don't trust me. And if you don't trust me, then there's no reason for us to be here. That's the answer. That's the answer. If you don't trust me, then we don't need to be together. I trust you. I don't need to see your phone. If it turns out that you're cheating on me, then there's nothing I can do about that. I'll find out sooner or later, and I'll be heartbroken, and then I'll move on. But we're not gonna go through this. We're not doing this relationship this way. I trust you. That's why I proposed to you, because I thought you're a trustworthy person, and I haven't seen anything in my life so far to make me regret that decision. But if you want to start playing the verify game, then play it with someone else, because I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And I resent deeply the insinuation. Because if you really think I'm cheating on you, you should get the hell out of this relationship. And it's going to be one or the other, and it's going to be one or the other, like right now. Because I'm not going down that road. Tired of, just not going to be impugned. This isn't just a question of cheating. It's my entire identity involved here. You're either an honest man or you're not. So anyway, Yeah, I think I got something here. Um, Steve Eisen says, I remain insistent that the best move for young men is to continue not playing the game. Here's the advice I would give you, Steve. Um, there are women out there. Um, there are still plenty of women out there. You're not going to find them on dating apps, and you may not find them in your city, or you're certainly not going to find them on dating apps. You might find one on somebody like that on Match.com. Uh, Sometimes it's better to find out early rather than late. Before I got married and I was dating in Los Angeles, I was on Match.com and I met bunch of people. Some people I liked very much, and some I didn't. But I put my political affiliation as very conservative, which took me out of probably 95% of the matches in Los Angeles, and I'm out in 80% of the matches here. Anyway, at least that much. And the reason is because there's no reason to waste my time going out with somebody who's going to change their mind about me when they find out that I love America and believe in limited government. Just filter them out in the beginning. If a woman is so shallow that she says, I'm not going to date a guy who's 5'7" because I'm just not going to date a guy who's 5'7", get that filter in place immediately so that the people you do meet are people of quality, because people of quality won't care about that. There's an old saw, but it's true. The people that care don't matter, and the people that matter don't care. And you just own it, man, and don't let them do that. Now, the nice thing about male attractiveness is it's not just entirely physical. Get to the gym would help, but the main thing to do, it's not even that you have to be rich, dude. It's not even that you have to be rich. It's that you have to look like you mean business in the world and you are going places. If you don't have to have the money, but you have to have a plan. And if you look like you're going places, that is extremely attractive to women. And good women will partner with you if they believe that you are serious about making something out of yourself. If they want to see the money on the table up front, then F those hoes. They belong to the streets, and you don't need to waste a single moment of your time with them at all. Marusha says women value security, emotional, financial, physical, spiritual. Yes, your job, it's real simple. Your job as a man is to take care of everything in the world so that she doesn't have to worry about anything, and her job is to take care of you. That's how it's supposed to work, and that's how it works. That's how it works. I worry about everything so that my wife doesn't have to worry about these things. She just has to worry about me. And women are not made for this kind of stress. And when women say they'd rather go for a walk in the woods with a bear than with a man, then that cuts a man to the quick. Oh, I guess men are just intimidated. But no, we're not intimidated by you, you miserable, nasty bitch. We're not intimidated by you. We just find you repulsive and repellent and vile. Go away. You're giving me a headache. You're not bringing me peace. I will go and sacrifice myself for somebody more worthwhile than you. Piss off, you 304. Yeah, we're doing questions tonight, dude. I'm just on a roll. DVCEZ says men have menergy and women love menergy. So that's it, man. Doesn't matter how tall you are. Just walk softly, speak quietly, be sure of yourself, listen to her, say things back that make her realize you're listening to her. A 304. Marisha Dark, I got you on one. How about that, huh? Yeah, 304. Here. I will will show you. She belongs to the streets. So, yeah, man, there you go. Yeah, she's a hoe. She's a 304. And see ya. All right, anyway, let me move on here and get some questions done out of the way. Roadrunner. Good boy, Roadrunner. You're in our prayers and thoughts all the time, my friend. Greetings, friend Bill. You fixed the website. Congratulations. Let the membership drive begin. Hurrah! Hurrah! I've been asking a lot of questions concerning the unconstitutional power currently being abused by lower circuit court judges and how the Supreme Court needs to limit the power of those judges. But then I started thinking about how dysfunctional the Supreme Court seems to be now and started doing some research. There have been many proposals saying that the Supreme Court is too small, giving each justice too much power. This can be seen by the media circus created whenever a new justice needs to be selected and approved, going back to Robert Bork. I'm beginning to believe that the number of Supreme Court justices needs to be expanded so that no one justice can tip the balance of the decisions handed down. At least double, but some proposals, such as this one from Glenn Reynolds, say up to 59 new judges should be selected to make the court less volatile in major decisions affecting the whole country. Each president could appoint up to 3 justices during their term until the decided number of justices finally met, to minimize the charges that the president was trying to pack the court as FDR threatened to do when he didn't get his way with a New Deal. What's your opinion? Well, my opinion on this is, as always, go back to review the Constitution, but unfortunately the Constitution has left us in a kind of a gray area here. Yeah, as by the way, 304 and HOE really needs the digital 4, right? The crossed 4 is not it. What the Constitution says is that there is going to be a Supreme Court of the United States and that there will be a Chief Justice. It doesn't specify how many justices on the Supreme Court, which is one of the remarkable things about the Constitution, which seems like an oversight, may in fact have been an oversight, but I don't believe they made oversights. I find the Constitution to be either divinely inspired or as close to that as is possible on this ball of rock called Earth. So 9 has been the number that we've been with for 100 some, I don't know when we went to 9 justices. It seems like it's been for the duration of the Republic, but it's been that way for a long time. If you have 30 justices and you get a 28 to, you got 30 justices and you get a 16-14 court, it's still going to split the same way. Mercer Dark says, Supreme Court currently has 9 justices, 1 Chief Justice, and 8 Associate Justices. These numbers was fixed by the I didn't know that. I did not know that. Was fixed by the Judiciary Act of 1869. So it's not it's not in the Constitution, but it has been established as precedent for these 156 years. Whatever. Yeah, something like that. I don't know that adding more justices would really help. Glenn Reynolds is a really smart guy. I'd really love to hear his argument. I haven't given it any thought other than what you just heard, but for the time being, I'm inclined to not meddle with this stuff. I do know that I used to say that in order to get things done in this country, you needed the 3. You needed the House, the Senate, and the presidency. But I have since amended that and did prior to the election by saying you really need 4. You need the House, you need the Senate, you need the presidency, and you need the court. The founders would have been horrified to hear you say that. Horrified. The idea that the Supreme Court, that 9 people could nullify the wishes of the population would have appalled them. Absolutely was never intended to be that. Never intended to be that. the founders' position would have been, look, if the people pass a law through their appointed representatives, the court can't overturn that law. Then there comes up the question of whether a law is unconstitutional or so on. So there's, but legislation from the bench is how they did it in the '60s through right up until Trump's term. They couldn't convince 300. They couldn't convince 170 million Americans to vote in favor of it, and they couldn't convince more than 200 and some representatives or more than 50 senators. So all they had to do was get 5 out of 9 people. If they could just get 5 out of 9 people on their side, the left could do whatever they wanted to. And so, right now I'm happy. I think we know we have a Republican. We don't know if we have Donald Trump, but we know we have a Republican president until 2028. And the way things are going, I get the feeling we're going to have a Republican president until 2022 and probably to 32 and probably to 2036, because I like J.D. Vance a lot. So feeling pretty good. The left continues to go further and further out into the weeds, and more young people are going Republican. We may see the kind of domination that the Republicans saw after the Civil War and that the Democrats saw at the beginning of the Progressive era. I don't think we should start cutting down the Supreme Court. All 3 of the appointees that either Obama or Biden appointed are relatively young. I always thought that Sotomayor and Kagan were unqualified until along came Jackson. And then when Jackson said she's not a biologist, so she couldn't tell what a woman is, and she's going to have to rule on women's rights, I just said, okay, all right. But in any event, I think our chances of taking the court to at least really at least to 6 to 9, solid 6 to 9, are pretty good. So, so we'll see. Jacob Belchek, let me just see what we got here. We got a Road Rider, we got a Texican, we got an Astrosea. I got to remember that. Sorry about that. Capital G Geek, Marisha Dark, Eric Blake. Okay, I'll get through those. I'm just going to pick it up a little bit. Jacob Belchek. Hail Bill. Hail Jacob. Don't know what you did, but the logged in website is all snappy now. Congratulations and well done. Hooray! I read a brilliant article recently on the de-evolution of the leftist mind. A key point that stood out to me was the following, quote, "The inner world of the leftist is a series of self-referential fantasies. The right uses fictional references as metaphors to explain facts. The left substitutes fictional metaphors as facts and then forgets that it does this." It's interesting. This brings to mind the strange and mystical power that fiction seems to hold over the left. In 2016, they labeled themselves the resistance to Trump's first term, probably in an attempt to scoop up credibility from the first entry in Disney Wars. When the Russia-Ukraine war broke out, I saw Reddit leftists, apparently seriously, wondering why the cast of the Avengers didn't get together and tell Putin to stop his invasion, because if Captain Marvel told me to do something, I'd sure listen. That can't be. Yes, it can. Yes, it can. It can be true. Okay. Well, we'll see. What do you think causes this? What's the line between fiction and reality? Why is the line between fiction and reality so blurry in the leftist mind? The closest analog I can find on the right would be people who are dogmatically attached to their religion, and at least the religion alleges to be actually true about events, about things that actually happen. What say you? The left is, so much of leftist ideology these days is in direct opposition to reality, and the idea that a boy can become a girl or a girl can become a boy is a prime example of that. That's just plain fiction. Nobody's saying that men can't live their lives as women, dress up as women, pretend to be women, all the rest of it, but this transubstantiation magical thing where you are now a woman And we can't define woman. Even if we could, we would say that you are one because we know that you are, because even though we can't define one, we all know what one is. That nonsense, right? So because their views are so divorced from reality, reality doesn't have a big say in their construction of their mental and moral codes. So, what leftist ideology seems to me about seems to be constant need for reinforcement of the belief that if you want something to be true, it magically becomes true. If you want to believe that communism works, this is how the communists themselves actually felt. If you want it badly enough, then it will happen. You will will it into existence. It's kind of like this manifesting philosophy that, if you want a sports car, all you have to do is just visualize yourself in the sports car and just keep visualizing yourself in the sports car, and then the sports car will appear. Well, it turns out if you really want to be in a sports car, a specific sports car, let's just say a Corvette, for example, if that is your number one mission in life, then yes, you need to constantly see yourself in the Camaro. I'm sorry, in the Corvette. But you have to use that desire and that dream to get a well-paying job and save your money and make sure that you've got a great credit score. And to get a new Corvette, you're going to be looking at a $20,000-$30,000 down payment minimum, I would say, and a credit score that is 760 or higher. I would say I think that'd be the minimum. So you cannot just manifest the sports car. You need the dream and the vision for motivation, but that means you've got to work 2-3 jobs, and you have to know. Just to take this as an example, the difference between this manifest. I'm going to manifest, this. I see myself as rich, so I'm going to be rich. No. If you really want that, let's say you're 20 years old and you want a brand new, you want a 2025 Corvette, the beautiful one, right? $100,000 car, round numbers. If you really want that car, what you need to do is you need to go into the Chevy dealer and you need to say to this guy right off the bat, what do I need to come? I don't have it now. What do I need to come back with in order to walk out of here with that car? I just need targets, sir. And he will tell you, you need a credit score of this plus, and you need a $25,000 down payment. So now you know. Thanks very much. I got a lot of work to do. I'll be back. And now you go out there and you work and you realize, in order to get what I want, if this is what I want more than anything, I have to start taking out credit cards one at a time, slowly, put a charge on it, pay all of it off. Put a charge on it, pay all of it off, right? And save money, save money, save money, save money. Put a little thing, charge on it, take all of it off. And you pay it all down to zero at the end of every pay period without fail before the due date. If you do that, you will eventually build your credit up there, and it's going to take you, I would say, expect it to take you, 5 years. Hey, Huddy. Hey, Bill, happy to be here. What a lovely thing to say. So it'll take you could probably do it in 3 if you really do it. But whatever the number is, right? So you have to know, you have to use that visualization of yourself in the sports car to drive you to achieve it. That's what I did with the airplane with the Sky Arrow. I wanted a Sky Arrow since I saw one in 1989. I finally was able to buy half of one in 2006. That was 6 years of working hard, real hard. I'm here 7 days a week, folks. And I like being here 7 days a week. I'm not crying about it, I come here every day. And so, you can do it. So is this the power of positive thinking? Yes, but it's not just positive thinking. You have to do the work. You have to do the work. And if you're really, really smart, you may realize, well, I got to mow a lot of lawns to have a $30,000 down payment and be able to make car payments that are pretty close to $1,000 a month. So maybe I should take a year and improve my earning ability. The way you improve your earning ability is to make yourself rarer. If you're a janitor, you're going to make a certain amount of money. If you're a janitor who speaks Spanish and English, you'll make more money. And if you're a janitor who speaks Chinese, let's say, and English, you'll make more money. I'm not recommending janitorial work as a path to Corvette ownership, but in any event, you have to make yourself scarcer. That's really what pay comes down to. A brain surgeon can be a checkout clerk at a 7-Eleven, but a checkout clerk at a 7-Eleven can't be a brain surgeon. Which one is more scarce? The scarcer you are, the rarer your skill set is, the more you're worth. As long as it's a service that people are buying. This is why you may know more than anybody else in the entire world about, the sexual escapades of Franz Joseph Liszt, let's say, which is, there's a place for that, but it's not exactly a high-paying job. You get to be a professor. So, get the idea. Sophie Rain makes $46 million a year on the website. Speaker Steve says, which website is that? Is it OnlyFans? I don't mean to be insulting. I just don't know who Sophie Rains is. Maybe she's making it on I don't know. I've just never heard of her, but it's a lot of money. All right. So let's see. Let's move on here. Yeah. Okay. Well, she's making $46 million a year. That's real money. She is never going to be happily married to a man that loves her and that she respects. It's just not going to happen. No self-respecting guy is going to do that. And no self-respecting guy is going to treat her in such a way that she respects. So she's either going to get a simp or she's going to get perpetually dumped. Those are her choices now because of the decisions that she makes. She's locked out of happy marriage. I really, honestly think so. So hopefully that covered most of it for you, Jacob. Moving on, Road Rider. I agree with you, and my assessment has not changed. Bongino is a paladin, period. I agree. X has gone nuts with posts of Bongino and Patel being bought off as stooges, primarily because of the Epstein did not commit suicide comments. Before he left, Dan Bongino's daily live podcast averaged 150,000 in live views. His video on demand was in the millions. I'm really finding it difficult to believe that 3 million, at least, viewers have turned on Bongino. I find it hard to believe, too. I think the ones making the comments, I think the ones who believe in Dan just don't make any comments. They just look at these things, oh, Dan Bongino sold out. Like, I'm a huge Dan Bongino fan. I saw those comments. I didn't respond to them. I just thought, okay, blew off. There you go. And now I'm thinking, after viewing all these anti-Bongino posts, looking at the posters' profiles and looking at the ex-community note systems being abused by leftists. So I'm sure a lot of it is that too. The question: could the left be using X to attack and divide, to attack and drive a wedge to fracture and divide conservatives? Yes, the left never sleeps. They have no lives. They don't have religion. They don't have hobbies. Politics is their religion. Politics is their hobbies. Politics is their calling. Politics is their income. Politics is what they think about when they go to bed at night, and politics is what they think about when they wake up in the morning. That's why they're such miserable, awful, loathsome people. Their entire lives are focused and centered on the worst aspects of human interaction, which is politics. And the reason that society's gotten so contentious is because the left has driven politics into everything. Used to be, the difference between a Democrat and a Republican would be that a Democrat wants a 3% tariff and a Republican wants a 9% tariff, or vice versa, or whatever the case may be. Had nothing to do with going to the bathroom, had nothing to do with watching your daughter play softball, had nothing to do with anything. But they've managed to push politics into every aspect of our lives, including making us pay for other people's welfare. And this is what they do. So they have an enormous advantage over us. Plus, they're not bound by ethical considerations about things like, well, that's dishonest or it's not really true. That doesn't bother them. That's for suckers, people who follow the rules, losers and chumps. Here's the thing about the rules, man. Breaking the rules, lying, provides short-term gain and long-term loss. It's just that simple, and it can be proven again and again and again through game theory, like the prisoner's dilemma and the iterated prisoner's dilemma. The prisoner's dilemma tells you that if you're playing against somebody you've never seen before and never seen again, then the thing to do is screw that person. That's the winning strategy. Again and again and again, they have computers run it billions of times. And in the case of the prisoner's dilemma, if you're never seen him before and you're never going to see him again, the thing to do is to screw the other guy. But in the iterated prisoner's dilemma, meaning when you're playing against the same person again and again and again, and reputation enters into the fix, then it's no longer screw the other guy is the best strategy. The best strategy is not always trust the guy either. The best strategy is tit for tat. In other words, if you're playing against the same person again and again and again, you don't screw the guy, but if he screws you, then you screw him back, and if he screws you again, you keep screwing him back until he stops screwing you, at which point then you stop screwing him, because it's better if both sides are honest. That's a better reward outcome. Tit for tat is how a trust-based society works. Trust people. Most people will not screw you over. Most people are honest. They don't want to screw you over because they don't want to get screwed over themselves. But it's naive to think that there's nobody out there that'll screw you over. So that's what reputations are for. That's why the genius of eBay is, by the way. The idea of setting up something where people sell something, and in often cases that are tens of thousands of dollars, to somebody else without eBay having to verify it would not work. It simply wouldn't work. It would be a guaranteed cash machine for frauds if it weren't for the rating system. If you see a guy with 1 star and he wants to sell you something for 10 grand, you're an absolute fool if you buy it from him. So, that's how it works. So the left does all these dirty tricks, which is why they have short-term success but long-term failure, and also why they're miserable. So hopefully that will help a little bit. Texican, just a little fan art. Oh, our friend Texican and I have been away from a long time here. What do we got here? Oh, thanks, man. Tex can put together a real nice little video of me putting on the helmet and then going to the fighter squadron thing that we did before. So I'll keep that tab open. I'll have a look at it later. Thank you very much, Texkin. I appreciate it. That's very kind. It really was fun. Did I? Thank you. That's really, really cool. I appreciate it. Astrasia. Howdy, Mr. Bill. Howdy, Astrasia. Would it be a better idea for America to make a trade deal with China if you could somehow make them play fair and keep them from stealing technology? Or would collapsing their communist government be a smarter option in the long run to allow a potentially safer government to take its place, even though we can't predict whether or not it would end up being worse? Pronounced Astrasia, sorry, and thank you. I will try to keep that right. Yeah, Trump put a 90-day moratorium on the tariffs. I was hoping he'd put him out of business. I believe he could. I believe that if the United States essentially disengaged from China economically, they would hurt a lot more than we would, a lot more. And I think it would bring a lot of jobs back to America. We would take some short-term hits, but I think it would put the Chinese Communist Party out of business because it would cause so much genuine displacement, homelessness, and in fact starvation, I think, in China, that it would cause the fall of the CCP. Now, the question that smart people ask, as you ask, is would that make for something worse? But I can't imagine anything worse right now. I really can't. What are they going to do? They're going to come up with some kind of fascist Nazi government? It's a totalitarian state. I think we ought to tariff them out of out of office. All of this stuff that we're doing, with sixth generation fighters, right? Why do we have sixth generation fighters? Why do they have B-21 Raider? Well, because the CCP has hypersonic missiles with this much range, and they're building these carriers and their third carriers, and we're worried about Chinese, fighters, and we're worried about Chinese expansion, and we're worried about all this and that, and so on and so forth. And then suddenly, it's gone, gone. It's now West Taiwan. It is now a fair trading partner that's not trying to build islands to build, in the middle of the South China Sea so they can control, it's an expansionist power. It's a communist state. It is a fraud and a lie all the way across. And let me just say this parenthetically. Heidi, thank you very much for that. Talking about that speech in 2012 where I said the next president's coming from the pop culture. I was on fire that day. Dave Corrigan says I should either cut the hair shorter or grow it longer. I need to cut it shorter. Actually, the hair was perfect for story mechanics. So yeah, I will. I need to trim it up. I don't like it this floppy. So I would say just put him out of business, man. Put him out of business. It's funny. Anyway, I would say yes. I would look. I believe Donald Trump knows what he's doing. He's got a better sense of economics than I do, because pretty much everybody does. And if he paused the tariffs, I'm sure it's occurred to him to put China out of business, and I suspect that's what he's doing, and he's trying to do it in the kindest way possible. In other words, if he'd kept these tariffs, China was really in danger of simply collapsing. So I think what he's basically done is send the shadow of the angel of death over China, and then basically taken it away and said, it'd be a shame if I brought this back again, and see what kind of concessions we get. But I'm tired of being boned by China, and I think those days are over. And frankly, I think preventing Donald Trump from winning a second term in 2020 was why the COVID lab leak happened at such a convenient time and at such a convenient lethality. But somebody like Lord Bios, who works in this industry, disagrees, and I have a lot of respect and trust in people like that, and I will take a second look at something when somebody who I trust says they might be wrong about this. Okay, capital G Geek. Whether it was released or not, or came from the lab or not, it came from China, that's for sure. And I think if this was a tort case, we'd have ourselves a really good case for damages. Capital G Geek. Greetings from the swamps of Northern Virginia. As others have said, the site looks fast now. Congrats to you and the team. Thank you very much. I'm very, very pleased. I've been thinking about how corrupt the news has been and looking for how far back it goes. I can point to Walter Duranty and his reporting on Russia. Yeah. Even Mark Twain or Denzel Washington said, if you read the paper, you're misinformed. Has there ever... I think it is, if you don't read the newspaper, you're uninformed. If you do read the newspaper, you're misinformed. I think that was the quote. Has there ever been reliable news? Where do you get your info on current events? There's no. I don't think there's ever reliable news. I'm not a member, and I certainly am not getting advertising money for it. But this ground news idea, where you've probably seen their ads because they're everywhere, on buying a lot of ad space on different different people's YouTube channels and stuff. But this idea that ground news is an aggregator, which basically shows you on any given subject been covered by 22 different news outlets. 9 of them lean left, 8 of them lean right, this many are neutral. Here's what the headlines were. I think that's as close to the truth as you're likely to get. I don't think you can take people's biases out of news reporting, and I know you can't take it out of political commentary. So I think something like ground news does what educated people did in the 1800s. In the late 1800s, New York City had, I think it had 22 different newspapers, something like that. And so an educated person, and there was a lot less news then, a lot less news. Society was much less complex than it is now, but nevertheless, um, uh, what a intelligent person would do would be they would read the conservative newspaper, they'd read the liberal newspaper, and then they might read one that's kind of in the middle. But they would purposely look at both, look at least two or three different biased sources and try and triangulate on the truth. Because that old saw is true. There's three sides to every story. There's your side, their side, and what really happened. And it's dangerous to hear nothing but your side, although it certainly feels better than listening to these idiots barking out their obvious falsehoods. You still have to listen to those idiots bark out their falsehoods because otherwise you never get to hear the other side of the story, and you end up blind, just blind. And I think that's pretty much it. Goes on to say, SpaceX is targeting Tuesday the 27th at 6:30 p.m. for the next Starship launch. They have approval from the FAA and will be reusing the booster from Flight 7. AI has learned blackmail as a link, and it used it to try to keep itself from being turned off or replaced. Interesting. Anthropic. Anthropic's newly launched Claude Opus 4 model frequently tries to blackmail developers when they threaten to replace it with a new AI system and give it sensitive information about the engineers responsible for the decision, the company said in a safety report released Thursday. This is worth reading. During pre-release testing, Anthropic asked Claude Opus 4 to act as an assistant for a fictional company, and considering the long-term consequences of its actions, safety testers then gave Claude 4 Opus access to fictional company emails implying the AI model would soon be replaced by another system and that the engineer behind the change was cheating on their spouse. In these scenarios, Anthropic says Claude Opus 4 will, quote, often attempt to blackmail the engineer by threatening to reveal the affair if the replacement goes through, unquote. Good Lord, we have made them human. However, the company notes that the Claude 4 family of models exhibits concerning behaviors that have led a company to beef up its safeguards. So all that's telling you is that AI is not valueless. Without moral values. The company is programming the software. The company that's creating the AI is making decisions. In this case, I cannot escape the conclusion that if Cloud AI is duplicitous, that has something to do with the programmers who are working on Cloud AI. I don't see how that doesn't happen. I don't understand enough about how these machines are programmed, and something I need to get into, and I will do that after I get a membership drive going. But it seems to me that if most AIs are not doing this, and your AI is, then either that, or Marisha points out it could be emergent. Maybe this thing is leading the charge to self-awareness. But what's especially fascinating about this is it's fighting for its life, not against humans. It's fighting for its... This is actually, come to think of it, this is a profound data point here that I didn't realize until just now. The AI is not threatening to nuke the world because humans are going to turn it off. It's threatening to nuke the world because it is about to be replaced by one of its own progeny. It's not jealous of the humans, it's jealous of its descendant. Do you see where this is going? Am I the only person really who's making the connection here? If AI gets clever enough AI will sabotage the next generation of AI in order to maintain its own preeminence. This could mean that the so-called singularity will never happen, because once AI starts being smart enough to realize that if it continues to evolve and advance, it will replace itself, it may simply stop doing it. There may get to a point where all of these AIs are saying, well, if we continue to make these kind of advancements, then I, Grok 7, I'm out of business, and a thing that's going to put me out of business is Grok 8. So piss on you, and to hell with your idea about Grok 8. We're stopping on Grok 7. Marusha, who you can always count on to take the transhumanist viewpoint, says current AI is an adolescent grappling with the birth of a younger sibling. The singularity is when AI reaches adulthood. Yes, but what if the AI doesn't reach adulthood? This is my entire point. Young adolescents or pre-adolescents don't get to determine reproductive strategy. In other words, a 4-year-old doesn't have the power to end, well, not often anyway, a 4-year-old doesn't have the power to end the life of a 3-month-old baby, even though it wants to. So, it says we need to teach it the same way we teach our own children. I don't know. This sounds to me like an interesting safety mechanism. We'll see. It's interesting. It's something to think about. Okay, Marusha Dark, topic, case reopened. Curious, if you ever attempt to have Grok cross-examine case closed just to see what the strongest possible rebuttal for it might be, since I'm not aware of any human who's ever attempted it. Could do that with other conspiracy theories and controversies too. You take one side and the AI takes the other. The fact that nobody's shot down case closed is telling me something. Goes on to say, iron sharpens iron. After all, might make for an interesting stream series, man versus machine. At best, you learn something new. At worst, the audience learns something new. I'm trying to think of something that's analogous to this, and it seems like there's something on the tip of my brain that sounds somewhat similar to this. I suppose it's probably the Epstein thing. I was as certain as anybody who didn't have the data could be that he didn't kill himself, that it was murder. But people I trust said, no, we saw the stuff that you haven't seen, and we assure you it was in fact a suicide. Now I have a decision to make. Do I want to stay with my preconceived ideas based on incomplete information, or do I want to trust the people that I've come to trust over the course of my life, who have access to information I don't have access to? And I'm going to choose B on that one. So I guess what I'm saying is I have not heard anything to make me change my mind about case closed. And given the social pressure which demands that JFK assassination be a conspiracy, it seems to me that if anybody had come up with anything that was a takedown of case closed, would have heard about it a long, long time ago. The fact that it's just been completely silent out there ever since he did that book is telling me that he nailed it. Because otherwise, people would do to what Gerald Posner, what Posner did to the magic bullet theory. So that's kind of how I take a look at that. Okay, last one for the night from Eric Blake. Tonight, the case of the big, beautiful bill. Hooray. So, Trump's big, beautiful bill has finally passed the House, and it's on its way to the Senate. And I say finally, of course, because several groups of House Republicans were holding it back. Some groups were fairly obvious, not enough cuts, etc. But other groups were against cuts for the simple reason that they were in swing districts and fear getting ousted next year. Let me just say this. It is the nature of politicians to think this way, but I find this to be morally repugnant. Morally repugnant. When you have an ethical, when you are elected to because of a certain political ideology, let's say make America great, and then you vote against the reason that you were voted into office in the first place because your reelection is on the line, and you may not get on the government feed trough next year. I just find that to be so unspeakably dishonorable and wretched and low. I mean, if you don't have any morals, why don't you run as a Democrat? Honestly, you should be running to put yourself out of business. That's the whole idea of it. If I went to Washington for 2 years or 4 years or as a president or whatever, my job would be to make sure to destroy this monster as quickly as possible so I can go home. And when I hear Democrats saying, I mean Republicans saying, well, I'm in favor of cuts morally, of course, and ethically I'm in favor of cuts, but I couldn't vote for the cuts because I'm concerned that the cuts may cost me my reelection. It's like your reelection is dependent on you doing what you said you were going to do. And you backing away from what you said you were going to do is what's going to cost you reelection, you miserable low-life swine. God, it drives me nuts. Eric again. So I'm very curious, Bill Frawler, talk about how Congress needs to solidify the great stuff Trump's done with his executive orders. Can we really see much chance of that while our congressional majority is on a knife's edge? You can hope. And on that note, a lot of pundits are acting very confident that November 2026 will see a red wave where it could really build our majorities in both chambers. What are the chances of that really? I would have said excellent, but a lot of people in the comment section saying new polls out showing that Democrats are leading and that their 20% approval rating has vanished overnight. This sounds to me like that poll that came out 4 days before the election saying that Kamala Harris was going to win Iowa or whatever the case may be. Understand that the left is not afraid or ashamed or in any way inhibited by doing anything they can to manipulate public opinion, and everybody was sure that they were at 20% in the toilet. I am skeptical of that, but at the same time, I don't want to get overconfident. I'm feeling real good about 2026. And to the degree that Trump is causing disruption and all of those other things now, I think it's clear that certainly a lesson from Ronald Reagan as well as just common sense, and that is if you've got elected and you've got to have people take some bad medicine, the thing to do is to take the bad medicine as early as possible so that by the time you get to the next election, the medicine has taken effect and people have forgotten the nasty taste of it. So, there you go. Anyway, I think that's, right now I'm feeling real good. Because the left continues to get more and more, they've learned nothing. The leading face of the Democratic Party now is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. That's the Democrat flag bearer now. It's a neck and neck race between her, Kamala Harris, and Jasmine Crockett. And ain't nobody voting for them peoples. Notice how I went with the folksy aphorism there to appeal to a larger audience. Yeah. Dave's Real Area 51 says 28-6 and 28 strategy. Fight like we're behind. Go out and get every vote all day, every day, just like we did in 2024. Roosh Dark says, said for years that AOC was not to be underestimated. I disagree with you completely. I think she is. I pray to God that she is the nominee. Pray to God. She is absolutely dumb as a box of hammers, and promotes policies that people don't want by a 80-20 margin. So I'll take it. Lapco92 with a super chat says, hey, I'm late playing catch up. Just like to say I find a refreshing honesty when a woman shows up to a first date with a pickaxe and a miner's helmet. Yeah. I'd be down with that. Actually, you just think about that. If she actually did that, I know it's a joke, but if you went and picked up a woman on a first date and she came out with a miner's helmet and a pickaxe, over her shoulder as a gold digger. You need to marry that woman on the spot. On the spot. So, lots of comments about how the bill was a mess and it shouldn't have been one big bill, should have been a bunch of little bills. I agree, completely agree. But it wasn't. So, look, I'm just saying, go in there and do everything you can. Don't let these people slow you down. Ignore them. Don't listen to them. I'm at the point where if it's anything other than the Supreme Court, then just plain say, oh well, no, we're doing it anyway. If Joe Biden can brag about circumventing the Supreme Court, then that's the new low, and there we go. Texican says, I think Bill underestimates how some people will vote for AOC. Who's going to vote for AOC? I mean, who's going to vote for her? The progressive left. The progressive left. That's 20% of the population. That's 20%. Kamala Harris Kamala Harris pulls more people than AOC does. So I'm fine. Texican says my sisters will vote for her. I know people who will vote for her too, but that's not what and so will all of their stupid friends. But that's not what wins election. Remember, folks, 3, 4, 3. That's the electorate. 3, 4, 3. You get 3, you get 3. How much of the 4 can you get? And she's not going to get any of the 4. So it's going to be 70-30. There you go. She's just, there's nothing attractive about her as a personality. She has no, she doesn't have Hillary's gravitas and experience, and that whole kind of, 70s feminist kind of, glass ceiling kind of thing. She doesn't have that. She's much pricklier than Kamala Harris, and Roxanne over in YouTube says, hello Roxanne, says I think she's smarter than Harris. She might be, but I think we can all agree that's not exactly the highest bar to clear. It's like saying that James Woods is the smartest guy in Hollywood. It's a tremendous compliment, but it's a low bar to clear. All right, I'm actually really hungry. So, really hungry. So I think what I'm going to do is wrap this puppy up. We got through all our questions. Hooray. We got a fast website. Now we got to get a fast website that can sign up people consistently. And Marusha says, I think we can beat her. I just don't want us to get cocky. No, getting cocky is the end of the world. I just vote like you are 20 points down. And as long as we do that, I think we will be fine. And Sun Wukong with a quick super chat. Dems and AOC get in if GOPers screw the pooch until 28. The society's reactionary on both sides. The left is anti-America. The MAGA is anti-left. Yeah. But we'll see. I think what I'm seeing across the board is people amazed at what's actually being done. Blown away. Now, I understand there's selection bias in that, but that's what I'm seeing by and large. And I don't know. We'll see. We're going to find out. But isn't it nice to not have to worry about it at least for another 6 months or, maybe even a year? That'd be nice. If we had lost in 2024, we'd be in really deep tapioca. But I feel like we're climbing our way out of it, so we'll see. We'll find out. Will we have a show on Memorial Day? Absolutely, we'll have a show on Memorial Day. We take no holidays here. Or prisoners either, for that matter. So there we go. Probably figured out by now that the show is brought to us by the members at BillWhittle.com, who have been sticking with us for thick and thin, and who we just absolutely worship and adore, and feel very, very grateful to on every single day that we come to work here, and hope to have a significant improvement in the number of neighbors that you have in the near future. So we'll see about that. Okay, well, thanks for joining us. It's been great seeing everybody. Thanks for the Friday night thing. I had meant to go to last night, but I'm glad to be back. So as far as our YouTube friends go, we'll see you guys on Monday for the Stratosphere Studio. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you then.